Serial killers have fascinated and terrified humanity for centuries. Their existence challenges our understanding of morality, human nature, and the limits of psychological comprehension. What drives a person to repeatedly take the lives of others? Is it an inherent biological defect, a result of environmental trauma, or a combination of both? This study seeks to explore the deep psychological mechanisms behind serial killers, analyzing their thought processes, behavioral patterns, and motivations. By understanding how they think, act, and behave, we can uncover the unknown factors that lead to their crimes and potentially find ways to prevent future killings. The study is divided into several key sections, including the biological and psychological basis of serial murder, common traits and behaviors, case studies of infamous killers, profiling techniques used by law enforcement, and the broader implications of serial murder on society. Through an interdisciplinary approach involving psychology, criminology, and neuroscience, we aim to paint a comprehensive picture of the serial killer's mind. One of the central debates in psychology and criminology is whether serial killers are born or made. Are they the product of their genetics, or do their environments shape them into murderers? The answer is complex and lies somewhere in between. Scientists have studied the brains of serial killers, uncovering abnormalities that may contribute to their violent behavior. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and morality. This region is often underactive in serial killers. Damage or dysfunction here can result in an inability to regulate violent impulses. The amygdala controls emotions, particularly fear and aggression. In many serial killers, the amygdala is either overactive, leading to excessive aggression, or underactive, leading to a lack of fear and empathy. Some researchers have linked violent behavior to specific genes, such as the MOA gene, which affects the breakdown of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. People with certain variations of this gene may have a higher tendency toward impulsive aggression. However, genetics alone cannot account for serial murder. Environmental factors play a crucial role in triggering violent tendencies. Many serial killers come from backgrounds filled with trauma, neglect, and abuse. These experiences shape their worldview and fuel their desire for control and violence. A high percentage of serial killers were physically, sexually, or emotionally abused as children. Ted Bundy was abandoned by his biological father and raised by a grandfather known for his violent temper. Ed Kemper suffered relentless psychological abuse from his mother, who belittled and controlled him. John Wayne Gacy was beaten by his father and grew up with a deep-seated need to prove his masculinity. Many serial killers experience rejection from peers, leading to feelings of resentment and anger. This social alienation often results in fantasy worlds where they exert control, eventually manifesting in real-world violence. Serial killers often witness extreme violence in their formative years, normalizing brutality. Some, like Henry Lee Lucas, were exposed to criminal behavior from a young age, reinforcing their belief that violence is a means to an end. While both psychopaths and sociopaths exhibit antisocial behaviors, there are critical differences between them. Most serial killers fit into one of these categories. Psychopaths are charming, manipulative, and calculated. They lack emotional depth, but can mimic emotions to manipulate others. Their crimes are often well-planned, and they are meticulous in covering their tracks. For example, Ted Bundy was highly intelligent and charismatic, allowing him to lure victims without suspicion. His ability to feign normalcy made him one of the most dangerous killers in history. On the other hand, sociopaths are more impulsive and emotionally volatile. They struggle to maintain relationships and often live on the fringes of society. Their crimes are usually disorganized and reckless, leading to faster arrests. A notable example is Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, who acted on impulse, committing a series of brutal home invasions without a clear pattern, making him easier to track down. For many serial killers, violent fantasies begin long before they commit their first murder. Many killers fantasize about control, dominance, and sadism from an early age. These fantasies often include violence, sexual aggression, and ritualistic behaviors. Most serial killers do not start with murder. They often begin with smaller acts of cruelty, such as animal abuse or petty crimes. Over time, fantasy alone is no longer enough, and they seek real-world victims. Serial killers have cooling off periods between murders, allowing them to return to normal life. However, as their psychological compulsion increases, the intervals between kills often shorten. Understanding how serial killers act and behave provides insight into their minds. Many serial killers choose victims based on age, gender, occupation, or physical appearance. For example, Jack Unaware targeted sex workers, reflecting deep-seated resentment. Serial killers often target those who are less likely to be missed or who cannot fight back, such as runaways, the elderly, or sex workers. Some killers choose victims that represent person or idea they hate. For instance, Gacy's victims were young men, reflecting his internal conflicts.